Nice and breezy out here today, you all. Nice and breezy.
You see, there's just one thing I would like to know. What's the problem? What's the problem? Tell me, what's your problem? So what's the problem? Five, four, three, two, one. What's the problem? Tell me, what's the problem? So what's the problem? Tell me. Five, four, three, two, one. So what's the problem? Tell me. I wanna know. Oh, tell me. So what's the problem? I wanna know. Oh, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So what's the problem? Tell me. I wants to know.
Hello there. It's me again. It's Loretha. And welcome to another episode of So What's the Problem TV show. Today, we're going to be discussing neurofibromatosis. Neurofibromatosis is a disease. It's a disorder. It's genetic. And sometimes they say you can get it through spontaneous mutation. I have a guest who has been living with neurofibromatosis all of his life, his entire life. He's still a very young man, and his name is Marcus Latimer. So would you welcome Marcus Latimer to So What's the Problem TV show? Come on in, Marcus.
Good morning, Loretha. How are you doing?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing great.
And thank you so much for joining me from the windy city of Detroit, Michigan.
Yes, and warm city of Detroit, Michigan.
So what's the weather there like today?
Today, it'll be in the 30s, but in the past few days, it was in the 50s. So that's good for Detroit.
That is very nice weather for Detroit, I must add. Marcus, thank you so much for joining us. Marcus.
Yes, I'm here. Yes.
You know, not everyone is willing to discuss, what ails them. And because you have been living with neurofibromatosis your entire life, first of all, can you give us just a brief description of exactly what that is?
Well, it's a genetic disorder that can either be passed down through heredity. Like for me, I got my father and his mother had it, or it can just say it's like 1 in every 3,000 births. Someone gets it, and it could be spontaneous generation where nobody in the family has it and one person gets it. But for me and my brother, whenever we were born, we had these little, what they call, I think, capillary spots on us, and that let them know then that we were predisposed to have that disorder.
Okay.
And basically, I had none of these, what they call tumors or neurofibromas until I reached the age around after maybe 25 or 30. It's when those started to come on, but
okay. So prior to that, they just looked like spots. You said so. It just looked like a
Like
birthmark.
freckles, right?
Like a
Like large
birthmark.
size freckles, right?
Isn't that something? And so, Marcus, you said that your father and his mother also had the disease. So, did they have the visible tumors, or did they have like the little birthmarks?
They had the visible tumors, small, what most people would call moles.
Right, exactly. You're right, Marcus. Most people do call them moles. As a matter of fact, I wonder, do some people even realize whether some people have ever been diagnosed?
Well, I can give you a recent example. I went to give blood yesterday,
Uh huh.
and the nurse was looking at me. She asked me about it, and when I
Uh
told her, she had
huh.
never heard of it before.
Really?
Right.
And that's why this show is so important, because it's going to bring awareness to neurofibromatosis and the fact that it does affect children. It affects a lot of children. And I've seen people throughout my lifetime, but I just never knew what it was. I just never knew what it was.
Right. And because I mean, most of the time people don't realize a lot of time, especially with men, if
Hmm.
like when I was going to the health club, I
Hmm.
had a lot on my face and in the area where you usually get shaving bumps. So
Right.
some guys would approach me quietly and say, well, man, here's something you can use for the shaving bumps. And I had explained to them they weren't shaving bumps, they were neurofibromas. And then I gave them more information so they could understand.
Exactly. Boy, I tell you, that's so big of you, Marcus. I mean, have you always had this kind of self confidence?
No. When I was
Really?
younger, I was saying I was the person you see today is
Uh-huh.
totally different from the one I was going from high school. I was very shy, quiet, and didn't talk to very little.
I bet. I bet. And being in even in elementary school, people bully you. If you can imagine that. I mean, bullies in elementary school, and then middle school, and by the time you get to high school, it probably would have been much worse. And the fact that you were shy, they would have. I mean, did you get bullied, Marcus?
No, not no. No,
Really?
at that point, I just had a couple of spots, so there
Uh-huh.
was nothing, for them to be just messing with me about, as far as that wise.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. All right. Well, we're asking that you text your questions. If you have a question about neurofibromatosis, please text it to 407-914-6519. My producer has located some very interesting videos that's going to help all of us understand neurofibromatosis a lot more. So while she prepares that, just get ready. It's going to pop up any minute now. Thank
Neurofibromatosis, also known as NF, is a genetic disorder that affects 1 in every 3,000 people. It can cause tumors to grow anywhere in the body at any time. These tumors are usually benign, but can lead to cancer and other serious health issues such as pain, hearing or vision loss, and learning disabilities. It is something people are born with. It can be inherited or it can spontaneously mutate in the genes. It affects all ethnicities, races, and both genders equally. There are 3 types of NF: NF1, NF2, and schwannomatosis. These types of NF affect everyone differently and sometimes can be managed with treatment, but there is not a cure yet. The Children's Tumor Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to ending neurofibromatosis through research. It is the first and largest non-governmental NF organization in the world. The foundation provides support to people with NF, including their families and caregivers, by providing accurate information, expanding public awareness and resources, and continuing research in the development of treatments and hopefully a cure for NF. You can help in the fight against NF by getting involved, by making a donation, participating in any of our community programs, or by joining a local chapter in order to advance research, raise awareness, and provide support for individuals with NF and their families. To learn more about the Children's Tumor Foundation, please visit our website at ctf.org or connect with us on social media.
That was so informative. That just gave me a lot more information than I've ever known before about fibroneuromatoses. It is a genetic disorder, and it can be passed down from your parents, or it can be through spontaneous mutation. So let me welcome back my guest, Marcus Latimer. Hey, Marcus. So, Marcus, I know you. I've only known you for a short time, but in the short time I've known you, of course, you definitely do not have a learning disability, nor do you have an issue with your hearing. Because when I say Marcus, darling, that just tickles you. Okay, I think Marcus is just a little frozen.
Hello?
Oh, hey. Okay.
Hello? I'm back
Hi.
now.
Did you hear what I said, Marcus?
No, I didn't.
Okay. So in the video, they were saying some of the conditions that can affect you if you have this disease, like learning disability. I said you definitely do not have a learning disability because you were able to maintain your career as a mail carrier for a very, very long time, long enough to have retired.
Yes.
Okay. And I know you can see me. I know that you hear me because when I say Marcus, darling, then that usually tickles you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how else did it affect you, Marcus? I mean, you've got the tumors on visibly, but what about pain? Is it painful?
Well, I was very blessed that I didn't have the kind that were really painful. I mean, I had maybe one or two small ones. Then I had the doctor surgically remove them. But
Oh,
other than that, I was blessed. I didn't have those kind.
okay. So someone is already sending a question. They want to know, do they itch? Because you've already answered the no, they don't hurt question, but do they
No,
itch?
they don't itch. They're just there. I mean, like a normal mole or whatever would be. They don't itch. They don't hurt. And the only issue I would have maybe sometime if the ones on the face, if a hair came, a hair grew through them, then I'd have to, basically get tweezers to remove the hair. But other than that, I had no pain.
So the hair follicle would irritate it if it
Right,
grew into that same spot.
right, just like a normal bump would be. Yeah.
Exactly, just like a normal bump. But it is just amazing to me, Marcus, that I mean, it really, you have just grown to live with the fact that you have the disorder or the disease, and you just, I mean, it doesn't affect you and how you live your life. That's just amazing, Marcus.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say in my case that because they were there and well, I was fortunate they came later in life.
Right.
Well, I was much fully adult. I didn't have to deal with a lot of things that some of the children have to deal with now, or
Right.
who had it at a younger age, where it affects them and kids making fun of them, or it causes them a lot to be learning a lot slower. And also, it's thankful that with the Children's Tumor Foundation, there's a
Right.
lot more education and support than there was when I was growing up. So now families can go to that thing and get website and get information and maybe find somewhere locally where they can get help or assistance in dealing with it.
Yes, I tell you that Children's Tumor Foundation. If anyone that's watching is listening, you definitely want to go and take a look at their website. I'm telling you, they provide a tremendous amount of information and support, and they also have a neurofibromatosis World Day where they really go all out with providing information and awareness to the world, to the entire world, because it affects all races of people, male and female, and it's just really enlightening that there's an organization that is trying to find a cure, because there is no cure for it right now.
Right. And the one other thing that makes it difficult to find a cure is that each person, no two people usually have the same effects. For example, my brother, he also had neurofibromatosis, but he had larger tumors that were basically on the inside of his body. Some of them on his nerves. Matter of fact, he had one on his spine that was inoperable. So he had to go to University of Michigan Hospital for them to put a cage in so his spine wouldn't collapse. And some people have them where it affects their hearing or sight. So that's why it's so hard to find a cure, because no two people are the same, basically.
Okay, so when you say it was touching the nerves in his spine, and so he had to have major surgery just so they could put something protective, you called it a cage, on his spine, so that he probably wouldn't be in constant pain.
Right, because
oh my gosh.
The tumor was rubbing against the spine.
Right.
And it had been doing it so long, it was wearing the bone thin.
Oh my.
His spine was more or less like two pencil sticks put together, two pencils put together. That's how thin it had gotten. And that's why the doctor said they needed to put a cage in, support it, to keep it from collapsing.
And that was your brother, Tommy. Was he your younger brother? Was he older?
Excuse me, I didn't hear you.
Was he older or younger?
Oh, my brother is, he's 13. He was 13 months older than I. He passed away in 2018.
Well, I'm so sorry, Marcus, that not only that the disease affected him so, but that he suffered. I'm just so sorry about that, Tommy. Do you think Tommy had any joy? Did he find some joy in his life, Marcus?
Oh yeah, he had a lot of joy. I mean, he was very active.
Really?
He grew up with me in the church, in the choir. Later on, he became a licensed minister. And throughout that time, as his health issues came up, he was still going out there with his Bible, ministering to people. And at a point where his driving diminished more, he had friends who would pick him up, and they would all go out and minister. And the funny thing to me was that even in the nursing home, when he was getting treatment, he would call me and say, well, bring my business cards that identified him as a minister. And he would minister to people in his wheelchair. He would roll around in the hospital, and when he got to the nursing home, in his wheelchair, praying for people. So up until the end, he was still active, practicing his ministry.
Yes, and living his life. And I'm telling you, that says a whole lot, because that meant he did have joy. He had the joy of the Lord. Oh my God, that is wonderful news. That's just wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
It really is. And so tell me about this church. Obviously, your parents were just very loving and God-fearing parents, Marcus.
Yes, they were, and they got us into the church at a very early age, and we joined. My mother, when she came here from the South, I think after high school, to live with cousins, she joined Hartford. Then it was Hartford Avenue. Now it was Hartford Memorial Baptist Church, and that time was under the leadership of Reverend Charles Gilchrist Adams. His son is now the pastor, but we were active in beginning out in Sunday school. And basically went into the choir, and that's where we stayed most of the time we were in church. Also into a youth council that we were part of the group when it first started. Once the church moved, so the church was a very important part of our upbringing. And my brother was also at the church involved in the audiovisual thing, so he was always active. He didn't, we never, because he could only see basically out of one eye real good, but he never let that stop him. So we always were on the move.
Isn't that amazing? Well, I tell you, here's the lovely gift you gave me the last time I saw you. And I believe you told me you all recorded this in your youth, and that my producer, Angie B, who also grew up in that church. So are your voices on this CD, Marcus?
In the choir. We are not doing solos. We are in the choir.
Right.
Yes. So I mean that was that one, and we also as a choir, that's a CD that I made up from songs we had sung from concerts. But we also did a real album
Oh,
produced while we were in the young adult choir as well.
no. Angie B says no solos for us.
Correct. We were happy singing in the background.
Well, I tell you, Mark, that was the most beautiful church I've ever been in. I mean, the stained glass windows, the height of the windows, and then those pipe organs, I believe is what you call it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was just amazing.
Yeah. I mean, we moved into that church in April of 1977. And at that point, it was one of the largest ecclesiastical purchases in the city of Detroit. So, I mean, we were blessed to be able to move in there. And through the grace of God, we were able to pay the mortgage off early. And even till today, God is still blessing us to have different ministries where we are helping the community.
Isn't that wonderful? And it makes such a big difference to know and to be introduced to Jesus at a young age. I mean, I remember I grew up going to Sunday school. That's how I got introduced to Jesus. And your church offers so many different programs for youth. It is just outstanding.
Yeah, it is, and one of the blessings was whenever I was in, and still till today is that Reverend Adams, I think Reverend Hill before him, allowed young people, you could come to participate in anything at the church. You didn't have to be a member. The only thing was you could not hold an office in those groups if you were not a member. But other than that, we've always welcomed people into the different organizations, choir or whatever it is, whether you were a member or not. And that helped a lot of young people as they grew up because a lot of them didn't have that at home.
Exactly. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So Marcus, so tell me, how did you said that, I think you said you were about 25 before you started having any visible symptoms of neurofibromatosis. So how did that affect you socially? I mean, come on now. I know the girls was at you, Marcus. Come on now. You was all shy, pretending like you didn't like the girls, and they were probably passing you notes.
No. But I mean, socially, it didn't really affect me. I mean, because let's say I had a few on my face and I have them all over parts of my body, but socially, I would say it didn't really affect me, other than being sometimes not confident in myself because I had them. But I would look at other people who had similar things or other type of things, health conditions, and it all depends on your personality. Because you can see somebody, maybe they had scars or whatever from anything else, and if your personality is good and you had the right spirit, people won't even see that. And so a lot of times, it's even though some things are visible, a lot of it has to do with your inner confidence on how you do things.
Yes. Well, you certainly have inner confidence and inner beauty, Marcus, because when I came to Detroit, I believe we were at the, let me just see what that was called. Oh, it was the book tour that came to Southfield, Michigan. And we also had a butter pound tasting contest. And Marcus Latimer won the contest with a delicious pound cake that met all of the criteria. And Marcus, I tell you, you were just absolutely wonderful to all of us. You were just absolutely wonderful. You I mean, you just got so much personality, and I don't think you know a stranger. And so that just makes you approachable. And so I certainly wasn't offended by the tumors. I didn't really actually know what it was, but I just figured from the very first time I met you, it couldn't have been contagious because you were out in public. You didn't have on a mask. You know, you were just all about the place when you came to Daytona Beach to the Bold, Beautiful, and Bald Beauty Bazaar. And then while we were in Detroit, You were just extremely, extremely gracious, darling. See, there you are.
Oh, yeah.
Now, do I look like I'm afraid? Look at Marcus. He was all over me, y'all. But we had the best time. You took us to let's see, what's the name of the little German town we went to, Marcus?
So Frankenmuth, Michigan.
Yeah, Frankenmuth, Michigan, which is a huge tourist attraction. And we had a wonderful meal. We went sightseeing. As a matter of fact, Marcus also took us sightseeing in downtown Detroit. And he intentionally drove his car over a very dangerous piece of ice.
It wasn't dangerous.
Well, I thought it was. I'm a Floridian, and I think did the car start spinning around?
No, the car. It was a very small patch of ice at a light, and I just hit the accelerator a little bit to make the tires spin. Since I know you had never been on ice before.
Absolutely not. All right, well, come on back. We'll be right back in just a minute.
My name is Julia, and I want you to see me and CNF.
I want people to know that I'm a little different, and I want them to know that I have more tumors around my body.
I instantly say, I have neurofibromatosis. It's a genetic disorder that causes tumors to grow on my body. Would you like to learn more about it?
I don't have a lot of neurofibromas or a lot of capillary spots that's visible to the world.
Just look, you can't see who I am. I guess that's the answer to the question. You can only see what you can see, which is true of anybody.
Make NF visible for those who don't have a visible aspect. They have brain surgeries. I've had brain surgeries.
Sometimes when people don't understand what something is, they get scared.
It's hard.
It's really hard when you're young. Then you really have to deal with that, and you have to deal with constantly being stared at, reminded that you do look differently.
When you're faced with a disorder like NF, and if it runs in your family, in my particular case, my son has it, that's how we found it.
Not all people know that I had 5 surgeries.
Even just doing simple tasks sometimes take a lot more out of me because my body is fighting this.
I'm not freaky, I'm not weird, I'm not some alien. I'm like my other peers, I'm like everyone else.
Sometimes I get scared when they see my tumors.
When I walk into a room, I feel really shy.
I wonder whether or not I should tell them or not, or what, and if I do, are they going to see me differently? Are they going to understand?
I feel like it's kind of coming for me eventually, just having these tumors.
When I'm experiencing pain or symptoms because of my NF, I feel sort of guilty.
I have one of the more unique things with neurofibromatosis, which is called pseudoarthrosis.
It takes more of a mental impact on me.
Someone might ask me why I have so many birthmarks, and I tell them that it's because I have NF.
It's not so easy to be me.
I fight NF by staying strong even through the hard times and just knowing that everything's going to be okay.
My name is Dane, and I want you to see me.
See me. See me, and see NF.
And CNF.
That was an excellent message. Don't you think so, Marcus?
Yeah, very. And what I liked about it, it talks about how growing up, I mean, even with the kids, how people will stare at you, and that's why it's very important for people to understand that it's not anything contagious. And a lot of times children, as I've gotten older, even in the last year or so, they will ask, kids don't have a problem asking questions. So they will have walked up to me and say, well, what's that? Or why do you have those things on your face? And then usually I'll talk to the parents and explain to them that what it is, and give the parents the website to go to, and just say, and they'll say, okay, thank you. I'll go to the website and I'll explain it to the kids in a way they can understand. Right. So the best thing, as I say, is that even people with NF, to make sure they can tell people where to go when people ask questions, because I was just blessed that it came for me later in life.
Right.
So I didn't have to deal with bullying, and especially now.
Right. You didn't have to deal with it as a child.
Right.
But I thought that message was great. It was just see me. You know, I'm still a person. I still have a heart. Um, and I tell you, so many people lack the education. They just simply don't know. And then sometimes some people are just mean. But 9 times out of 10 is because they just don't know.
Yeah, that's
They
the key.
don't
They don't. And
know.
I guess because it's not one of the diseases or disorders that get a lot of media attention,
Right.
like heart disease, diabetes, cancer, a lot of times people don't know about it or don't take it as a serious effect.
Right.
Because the NF Foundation also, I participated in Michigan in a couple of their walks where we had to raise money, and
Okay.
so I mean, so in different places across the nation, they have walks or different kind of events to help raise awareness and as well as to raise money.
Exactly. And it does take a lot of money, because when you consider how long we've been afflicted with cancer and how long the National Cancer Association has been around, I mean, they get billions of dollars for research, and they still have yet to come up with a cure. Heck, we don't even have a cure for the common cold, Marcus. So
Right.
it
So-
is important to
I
spread
was gonna say
awareness.
that
I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say that also when I started looking into it, they have NF research being done not just in the United States, it's being done globally.
Right.
In
it's
a lot of foreign
worldwide.
countries, they got scientists, looking up and trying to find cures for it. So it's something that affects people globally, not just, in one area of the country.
That's true. And later, we're going to see another video that actually shows people internationally who suffer from neurofibromatosis. And so you're correct. It is global. It's global. And so the research is ongoing, which is why they really need donations, and they need advocates, people that will that aren't afraid to go about spreading the good news about what the Children's Tumor Foundation does. So someone is asking, are my moles just like yours?
I'm not sure I understand. I mean,
I'm not sure either.
I understand. But I mean, for me, a lot there. A lot of times it looks just like other kinds of mole. A normal mole would be or a bump, basically.
Right.
Some of them are larger, some smaller, some may be wider, but basically they look just like a regular mole.
Right. Right. Well, people are curious.
Yeah.
And I know I've often wanted to touch people's hair because the texture of it or the style of it, is appealing, and it's so different from mine. I get so many inquiries about my hair because I keep it cut, and I like it.
Right.
It appeals to me. I do get quite a few compliments on it, but mostly it's my mother, Marcus. She doesn't like it at all.
Of course not.
But she's 95, and she just grew up with a head full of hair, and so did I. But I'm at that age now where I'm all about convenience, and this is convenient.
Right, and I guess also with the mole thing, I just remembered that for me, I guess it helped with as I was growing up. My father, he had a lot of them on his face.
Okay.
And we'd be places, and I would see kids, even some family members, will walk up to him, and for him, it was kind of an amusement that they would, attention he was getting from the kids about walking up to him, either on his arm, like you said, if he had someone on his arm, sometimes walk up to him and touch his arm, want to feel him, or ask him questions. So I was able to see that, and that probably would help me also deal with it a little better.
Exactly, because it humanized him. It humanized him to them, and they felt like he was approachable. He felt approachable. And I guess you got some of that confidence from him, Marcus.
Yeah, could be. Yeah.
Okay, now what I need to know is how you learned to bake that pound cake. Come on now, Marcus. You didn't just get a recipe and start baking a cake. Come on now.
No, I was baking cakes when I was younger, and I started out with a recipe from one of my cousins at church that I had my mother get for me, and every once in a while I'll go in there and make a pound cake, but holiday time or maybe other occasions. So that's basically where I got my experience from. Is my mother worked at a bakery, and she would bring cakes home. I got tired of eating those cakes. So we went somewhere at a family function. I tasted the pound cake. I asked my mother, "Can you get cousin Mary to give you the recipe?" And she said, "If I do, are you gonna cook it?" I did, and the rest was history. From then on, I was the one cooking the pound cakes for our own individual family dinners.
Okay, well, I think you should stick with it, Marcus. I mean, the cake, no matter what Barty says, that cake was good, Marcus. Another question. Okay, Marcus. So, how do you shave without cutting yourself? Without cutting your bump?
Well, I have to be very careful. Yeah, a lot of times I can shave and I don't, but then other times, especially if I'm in a hurry, I may cut one or two because they're so small. Some on my face is so small, but usually, if I take my time, I can just move the razor around it carefully, and I don't cut myself.
Really? Okay, so if you do damage the tumor, what do you do then? You got to rush to the emergency room?
No, it's just like a regular bump. I mean, if they're small, so I get get alcohol, whatever, put pressure on it and something, and it clots, and it's normal. I mean, it's like a normal bump.
Okay, well that was a good question. I'm sure someone was inquisitive about. Okay, now so my other question is I'm really happy to hear that you do volunteer whenever you can with the Children's Tumor Foundation. So is that local? Is there like a chapter, or I mean, how would you get involved locally there in Detroit, Marcus?
But there is, I don't have that information with me in front of me, but there is a local group here in Michigan that puts on the walk and maybe a dinner or something throughout the year. So a lot of states have a local chapter that people can go to the Tumor Foundation website and look up and see if there's a chapter near them.
Okay, that's a very good idea. That's a very, very good idea. So I'm just amazed at the at how intense the research has been, because I've been on the website as well. I've watched the videos, and I tell you, it's just, I mean, some people, the tumors have basically overtaken their faces. And I'm not sure if maybe, I mean, I think you said your brother had to have surgery on his spine because it was just putting too much pressure on his nerves and it was wearing down the bone. But for people that have it visibly on their face, I think you even said you had a couple of them removed, right, Marcus?
Yes, I've had several surgeries over the years to have some. They were not the ones on my face. Usually I had a couple on my legs that were bothering me, on my back, where when I sat against it, like if you were at church, it would cause a little pain. So I've had some of those removed. So basically right now, surgery is basically the only way to have them removed. There are different trials in effect right now where I think one of them is where they're trying to cream to see if they will reduce them, but there's still there's no cure available to stop them.
No,
some people, even once they had a surgery, the tumor may come back.
Oh my!
But most people, I mean, with myself, the ones I had removed did not come back.
Okay, well, When we watch this next video, it goes into a little more of visible signs of the actual neuromatosis tumors. And so we'll talk about that.
Okay.
It's over.
Nilalabanan ko ang NF.
Je mène la bataille contre NF.
Mi batto per sconfiggere la neurofibromatosi.
Δουλεύω για την εξάλληψη της νευροημάτωσης.
Аз работя, за да победим NF.
Meu objetivo é acabar com a NF.
Estamos contigo en la batalla contra NF en su totalidad.
אני מאבק NF.
Ich kämpfe gegen NF.
Jag lever kontakter för att slå NF.
Wir kämpfen zusammen gegen NF.
Pracuję, żeby zakończyć NF.
Unisciti a noi. Lottiamo insieme contro NF.
Ik leid het gevecht tegen NF.
Und lyft euch unter NF.
Many are called, but few are chosen. On January 28th, 2023 at 3 o'clock p.m., you are invited to join Christians Merging Together Ministries, as this foundation brings women of God in unity working together. Attend this Volusia County revival at Master's Domain Church of God in Christ, located at 511 Fremont Avenue in Daytona Beach. Your host for this occasion is Pastor Sammy L. Jackson, whose mission is connecting the body of Jesus Christ and expecting revival for Volusia County, Florida, the United States, and outermost parts of the earth. For more information, call 386-220-5395 or search for cmtn.daytona on Facebook. Let's prepare to witness our nation change as souls are saved. That's 386-220-5395. 386-220-5395. Hey everybody, it's time for today's health tip. Today's health tip presented by your wellness coach, Kim. Visit her online at krButler.goherballife.com. And now it's time for today's healthy tip.
Hey everybody, it is Coach Kim here. I just want to share something with you about the curious person who is looking to lose weight and maybe trying to figure out how to do it and how to get started. Well, we have a 3-day trial pack, and in this package, you'll find 6 packets of our cookies and cream shake. That is the most popular flavor tasting, and it is so yummy. And you get 6 of our teas inside. You'll get 3 of the lemon and 3 of the raspberry. And what this will do is it will give you an introduction to the Herbalife way of doing things, meaning that we have 1 to 2 shakes a day. We'll have 2 colorful snacks and 1 healthy meal. And we get to coach you along the way. So when you purchase this, which is $35, you will get me as your coach. I get to walk the whole journey with you for the next 3 days, however long it takes. And I'm looking forward to it because I'm going to be a guest next month, and we get to have a challenge. Talk to me at krbutler.goherbalife.com, or call me or text me at 240-281-7865. And I look forward to introducing you to the Herbalife way with this 3-day challenge.
Well. Thank you, Coach Kim. We appreciate today's health tip. Better You Nutrition. We appreciate you, and we're looking forward to the challenge.
Hello there, and welcome back. I guess we've already seen the video where the fibromatosis was a lot more visible. The video that we just saw was of different people around the world supporting neurofibromatosis. As a matter of fact, they have a World Neurofibromatosis Day. It's May 17th. And here at So What's the Problem TV show, we're going to do what we can to support it that day. We may possibly re-air this particular show just to promote awareness. So I'd like to invite Marcus Latimer back once more.
Okay.
Hello there, Marcus.
Hello, how are you? I'm back again, yes.
Yes, you are back again. So, Marcus, I am just so grateful that you are a willing vessel for the Lord. You certainly do have the joy of the Lord in your life because you wear it on your sleeve. And it just means so much to me that you were willing to come on to actually let us learn a little bit more from you about neurofibromatosis. So I think I may have another question myself, which is, did you or your family know any other families that suffered from neurofibromatosis while you were growing up?
No, matter of fact, I didn't really know anyone else because my father, because of the way the disorder is manifested, my father was the only one out of 4 children that my grandmother had who had it.
Okay.
And therefore, I didn't really know anyone else who had it.
Wow. No. And during that time, there was no way they had as much information as they have now about the disease or the disorder. So I bet that was very difficult. And then you told me your grandmother also had some aspect of it.
Right. And back then, at that point with her, they just thought it was something that happened to her, and maybe something happened during her birth that caused it, and they didn't really have any information. But even when I was younger, we attended maybe 1 or 2 informational conferences. And at that time, this guy, Dr. Francis Collins, who's internationally known in medicine, he was one of the people who was working with the Neurofibromatosis Foundation out of New York. And they had a couple of sessions here that I attended, but still, as most people were hoping, there was still no cure. So it was more informational about, they were doing ongoing research. So, but as you said, growing up, there really wasn't a lot of information. And really, from my perspective, too much support as well. But now they have a whole wealth of support where people with children can come together, and and the events they have, like a couple of them I have attended, especially the runs, are good for children, because that way the kids who have it can see other kids who have it. And teenagers can see and meet with other teenagers who have it, so they don't feel alone, and they know that they're not the only ones who have it.
And that is so important, especially because of depression. And we know that depression kills. So I tell you, I can't say enough about the Children's Tumor Foundation. And you know what, Marcus? What about, they said there's another type of neurofibromatosis. They say you either have NF1, NF2, or something called schwannomatosis. What in the world? What? It's just a different type.
It's a different, right. Some of them are different. That one, the last one, I'm not really up on, but I know the NF1 and NF2 ones, I mean, it's just like, I guess they, like, well, I have the NF1, the smaller type ones, and then the NF2 goes into the larger and other ones that affect your body, because I'm fortunate that mine did not really attach to any nerves, what was causing me any physical things, whereas my brothers were the kind that actually did attach themselves to nerve cells, and on the spine especially, where it affected it to the point where the doctors told us that we cannot operate. If we operate, he could be paralyzed.
Exactly.
So, you know, if they try to remove the tumor. So that's the other issue people have, that you have to make a decision sometimes with whether to operate on it. You have to make a decision whether or not, if you get married or whatever, whether you want to have children, because you know there's a 50-50 chance those children could develop it. So it's a lot of pressure and things that people have to go think about, especially those who are thinking about having children and things, and how they want to, you know, move on, whether that they want to have kids, adopt, or really make a decision. So it's a lot of, it can be a lot of pressure if you don't reach out to get out help or support.
I bet. A lot of pressure. Okay, so Marcus, did you make the personal decision not to marry and have a family?
Well, the married part, I haven't met the right to me, I haven't met the right person yet. But I did think about that part for the children, and for me, I don't think that when I was younger, that was one of the things I thought about, that would I really want to have a child to have this or not. So that was in the back of my mind as well.
I bet it was. Yeah, I can see how that would have caused you to contemplate whether or not you wanted to. Okay, we've got one more question.
Yeah.
Oh, is this the same as the elephant man disease?
Yeah, in the early stages. That's what actually from the research, I remember what I was told by a doctor. That's what it was actually called.
Really?
The elephant man disease in earlier years.
I remember
before they came out with the actually.
Yeah, I remember
that name. So I mean, yes, that's in the early days. That's what it was called.
Yeah, I had
some people. I mean, some parts of it.
Okay, I think I'm gonna Google that and see if I can find it again.
Yeah. Okay. You're breaking.
Go ahead, Marcus.
No, I was saying you started to break. I didn't hear the last question. If you were saying something, I didn't hear you.
Oh no, I was just saying how much compassion I had for the elephant man, because I believe he was in a circus. Is that what it was?
I think so. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna Google it so that I can refresh myself, because he certainly he wasn't a freak. I mean, but back then they certainly would not have known about neurofibromatosis, and how visible the tumors are for some and not for others. Oh yeah, I'd like to know what happened to that person. I think he was a real person.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was a real person. Okay, so Marcus, what else would you like for the audience to know about neurofibromatosis?
I guess for me is that, you know, especially if you have children, you need to reach out to the Children's Tumor Foundation to find out, because they do have clinical trials for different ointments or different things that could help not get rid of it, but help to manage it better. Right. And also, if you are as a adult or young adult I would advise parents to contact them to find out if there are any support groups in that area, because with the internet and things, people can be cruel, and you need to be able to have support, and also be able to have your kids to educate people who may question them. And that's the main thing, is to educate people so that as they run into people who may innocently ask questions, you can give them a resource to go to, and that also can build up your confidence and knowing what you have, and being able to tell people, I'm not harmless, I'm not contagious. No, it's just something that I have. And here's where you can go to get more information. And that would be the best advice I would give to somebody, is, and especially for those who may be single or whatever, you need to get more information on how to get support as well, because there are support groups out there.
Absolutely.
And you just have to reach out to them so that you won't feel alone in this quest with this disorder that you have, because a lot of people have something else going on. That some disorders are visible, some are not. And this happens to be the ones that's visible and internal. So I would say, don't be afraid to reach out for help.
Don't be afraid to reach out for help. It's the Children's Tumor Foundation, and they provide a tremendous amount of emotional support and, the things that you're going to need in order to have as normal a life as possible. Because life is precious. God gives us life. And sometimes we do have to suffer. Sometimes we do get diseases. But there is help available if you are born, or if you eventually find out that you've been diagnosed with neurofibromatosis. Marcus Latimer is here, and he has lived his entire life. It was genetic. It was genetically passed through his parents to him and his brother. And though his brother suffered with the disease, his tumors were internal, he managed to live a joyful life and to give back. And he was an ordained minister. And I believe Marcus also told us that he was into, what was it at the church, Marcus?
He's also into the audio-visual recording and the taping ministry. It was called the taping ministry.
Oh, okay. And so you see, he was a servant, and he found ways to give back. He found ways to have a fruitful life. So we just like to thank God for the life of Tommy Latimer. And we're very sorry that Marcus lost his brother, his older brother. But we are so grateful here at So What's the Problem TV show that Marcus Latimer came on to share so much about neurofibromatosis. Thank you so much for joining us, Marcus. Thank you very much.
And thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Thank you for watching, everyone. See you next week on So What's the Problem TV show. Bye-bye.
You see, there's just one thing I would like to know. What's the problem? What's the problem? Tell me, what's your problem? So what's the problem? Five, four, three, two, one. What's the problem? Tell me, what's the problem? So what's the problem? Tell me. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So what's the problem? Tell me. I wanna know. Oh, tell me. So what's the problem? I wanna know. Oh, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So what's the problem? Tell me. I wants to know.